So recently I did an MMA fight at the ripe old age of 50. And I had most, like 99% of people were completely on board with it. And there was probably like one or two people that were not cool with it. And there was a handful in the middle who just didn't understand. They were supportive. They were trying to be polite. But I sensed that they were like, what the hell are you doing? So this is partially for those people who don't get it, and higher insight for those who understand it already. So I've narrowed it down to 3 reasons, and one of them, which I tagged this video, is the world's most violent showreel. Okay, so the first reason I can think of, it purely comes down to testing my jiu-jitsu. And I think a lot of people in martial arts, or misperception and conception about martial arts, is that there's these people that practice it daily so they can go out and be violent towards others. And or people see the end result of all the training, they see the violence, and they think, well, this person has a penchant for violence, and so that's what they're out to do. They must be a violent individual. It's a flawed piece of logic. I'm not saying everyone thinks that, but I think some people who are scared of what's happening can only kind of reconcile and dismiss it and put themselves above it by coming to that conclusion. And I don't think it's an unnatural way to think. I just think it's kind of like a lazy thought process. So, to put it in perspective, I trained jiu-jitsu for about 15 years now. I'm a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I kind of got into the point where I first fell in love with jiu-jitsu was when I was living very cheaply, kind of poverty level in Western Sydney, and then I went into Video Easy one day. I used to love watching videos like film and acting, that kind of thing, and I was doing a performing arts degree, and then I saw this video of this fight, this bloody fight. It must have been someone like Oleg Taktarov on the front, covered in blood. And so I started watching these videos. The Ultimate Fighter collection videos 1 to 20 were at Video Easy in Penrith, and I sort of got stuck into them and got addicted to them and watched them all. And I was too, mesmerized by the violence. But what really fascinated me was how people would survive. And so this idea of survival in the face of adversity was what I was really interested in. Not in the guy that was winning, but the guy that was losing, and how he was getting out of it, how he was escaping these positions. So fast forward, after years and years of training, I've got it to a point where in jiu-jitsu you do gi and no gi. The gi is kind of like a uniform you wear, no gi, just shorts and lycra, if that's what you're into. And so I just felt this desire to go back to the core of why it all started, and that was this notion of survival. And jiu-jitsu means the gentle art, and I think it was one of the Gracies says that the jiu-jitsu is not about winning, it's about being undefeatable. And so that's why I took the fight, and that's why I thought that it would be appropriate to test if I was undefeatable. And I picked an opponent who I'd competed with like 5 times before. We'd competed against each other in jiu-jitsu. We knew we were at the same level, and we probably had the I'd done a fair bit of Muay Thai in the past, but it'd been a long time, but we were probably pretty equitable in striking and other martial arts. So I thought it was a fair fight. So I just think that it just was this desire for me to go back and with a lot of modern techniques, there's a thing where I'd always think to myself, those guys are amazing, and there's many people higher level than me. But I think, if someone punched you in the face right now while you're upside down, what are you going to do? Is that really, I just wanted to get back to the core of the combat and why it interested me. So I guess the first reason that I did it was to test myself and to test my jiu-jitsu. The second reason comes down to being bullied as a kid, and I had a pretty bad time at school. I went to various schools. We traveled around a lot, my family, and I was always the new kid. My stepfather was in the army. He used to cut my hair quite short, so it just looked weird. I was quiet. I was confident, and naturally I'm confident with people I know, but generally in those situations I sort of clamp up until I got to know people, and so I just became a target and got bullied relentlessly, and I never really fought back. And it wasn't just physical, it was psychological. So to me, it was just about going into that situation, and as I said in part one, of having tested myself in jiu-jitsu, and I really wanted to, have a sense of utility. And I also wanted it to be, look, I'm a bit cynical about people who say, oh, I'm doing this for charity, I'm doing this for the Bullying Foundation. Well, really, sometimes I think, and not saying in all cases, some people just do stuff for themselves and they hide behind a cause. But what I would say is that, to me, bullying really kind of, I have to thank it, because it put me into jiu-jitsu. It put me into looking at the ways to kind of deal with people who are like that. And so I really, it's just something that kind of deeply affected me in my life, and I'm sure it did with a lot of other people. So what I'd say is that if you are being bullied, or you've got a kid that's being bullied, and look, I'm not talking about the vicissitudes of life where you go to school, you go to work, someone's mean to you, and you kind of have to cop it on the chin, right? But if it's a long-term harassment, then that's next level stuff, and you can't put up with that from people like that. So get into jiu-jitsu, and become more confident. And some of the nicest people you'll ever meet are through fighting. Reason number 3 was, well, it was like the world's most violent audition. So I thought, if I'm going to get punched in the face, and look, I think this is a subconscious reason that I've only really discovered post the fight. And I thought, wow, obviously I did it to get some level of attention. And we're in a world of social media. I do have this account, obviously. I've got Instagram accounts, and I've got projects, one particularly, a clown apocalypse thing called Painted State. So I'm always putting that out there. I'm always posting it out there. But the reason I took the fight, another reason was, thought, well, I can test my jiu-jitsu. That's a reason to take the fight. I can do it because of this whole concept of bullying and defeating the bully and standing up to the bully, and maybe someone else will get inspiration from that. But also, I've got to make it worth getting punched in the face, and maybe someone will see it. Maybe there'll be some exposure. So when we looked at the fight, to get on Fight Pass, I thought that would be cool to be on Fight Pass, and I know Brace are on Fight Pass. So then to do that, you had to be registered as pro, which myself and my opponent did, Renee, and so we knew down the track, and it was live streamed as well. So, and then we got a lot of photos, and I put some media up throughout this. You'll probably see some images now, or before, or after, of the fight and the process I went through. And I might even put at the end just a couple of, I did start making a vlog on Blazehackman, professional fighter. And I was really sick at the start of this process. But it was to create attention, and that attention, now, when I was younger, it was probably just about me as the actor, but yes, I'd still want to enjoy the process of acting and be part of that. And if someone saw this, and because I think a lot of people in the arts are good actors, and they act, but I just think there's more value in someone who's actually a good actor and who can also roll around the floor, take a punch. So I did that to kind of, for myself, but also I want to sell this project. I've got a project, I want to sell it to Netflix, so I did it for my kids, because if I can sell that and succeed, then obviously that's going to bring in the fruits of the labor to the whole family. So I was willing to put myself out there, willing to try and a grand stage to go on, and Brace provided all those answers. And I guess the thing as an actor, you have to, I really think that over the last 30 years, I'm not someone who just rolled in and said, I want to be an actor, and took a couple of acting lessons. In my 30s, went back, did a 3-year acting degree, lived on the breadline. That was after 10 years of being in Sydney, trying to slog away as an actor. And then, I've always been doing projects for years and years, and really put it, 18 months ago, put it on the line again, where I took a bunch of actors out to Broken Hill after writing this project for a long time and doing a bunch of test scenes, cutting those test scenes, and now trying to create exposure for those scenes. So I will link in my YouTube channel for Painted State and have a look at the project. And you know, it's nice if people share it. And ultimately, it'd be good if Guy Ritchie called, because I know Guy Ritchie has this policy. It could be a myth about, because he does jiu-jitsu, and it's like I've always had this fantasy of saying to Guy Ritchie, okay, well, you put me in your film if I roll with you and I submit you. Well, I've heard he's pretty good brown belt. So, you know, but I just think that someone like Ridley Scott, that would be my ultimate. Ridley Scott to see it and go, really? That guy did what? At what age? Can he act? Oh, God, he's good and he's got a brain. Oh, and he's got this amazing idea. It is really frustrating living just up the road from the studio where the latest Prometheus was shot. And, you know, it is frustrating as an actor to kind of feel annexed and feel that people aren't getting to see you. So this was just another way of saying, yeah, it's worth getting a punch in the face. I think another thing too with people, I'm 50, right? So in the acting industry, and also in life, people generally get shelved. Here comes the chopper, by the way, so you can talk over it. But as an actor, you suddenly become, oh, you're the dad ad. Let's put this guy on a dad commercial. You know, he's a fat guy, bald guy that's going to be in the dad ad. Well, sorry, I really don't fit that category. I'm an outlier. And neither should you. And jiu-jitsu can give you, you know, it's a great sport because it keeps you flexible and young and fit and dangerous. And I think that if more people of my age did it, that they really see the benefits. And that was one of the things I've noticed. And I've watched a lot of amateur fights, watched a lot of Winter Warrior, and a lot of people that come in shape, and they get punched in the face, but they really have to be unlucky to get badly hurt. And the upsides are people drop weight, they become fitter, they make new friends, they learn new skills. So there's just a range of reasons as to why it was a good thing to do. And if anyone is out there and you do like what you see, then have a look at these photos, have a look at me, have a look at Painted State. And if you know Gaylan Hurd, I did work with her briefly last year, but I don't really know her. But if you know Ridley Scott, then tell him to give me a call. So I have to talk to you about the theory of violence. This is my theory of violence. It's just a thought process. It's not a peer-reviewed article or anything like that, but for people who don't understand what was going on with the violence, firstly, with my fight, because it was very bloody. I mark easily, and so there was a lot of blood. So it looked spectacular. It was a spectacle, but I wasn't hurt. I mean, he might have rocked me with one punch, and I actually can't remember a lot of the fight, but I think that was adrenaline. And a lot of people say that, even if they didn't get rocked. So, and the worst thing was the kicks, because Renee Chilean. Chileans love soccer, so he kicks like a horse. So it really hurt my leg, and I was in pain for a couple of weeks. So that's the downside. And yeah, it looked violent. And so for the uninitiated, you're going, Steve, what are you doing? You're just an animal in a bloodbath, and you crave violence. And no, what I'm doing is I'm practicing violence so that I can deal with violent people if they should ever come across my path or your path. And the more violence you practice, then the less real violence there is, because you can stop other people from doing it, or you can stop yourself from doing it because you know what you're capable of. So, in a way, taking a fight is anti-violence. And I think, as I said earlier, that people who don't understand that have to find a way to intellectualize it so that they can defeat it, because they're so scared that it might unfold them. It might show who they really are. Because you can have all the debates you want with someone, but once they start beating on you, and once the person starts dominating the other person and humiliating them, then that's a terrible thing. But that's what happens in violence a lot of the time, and you don't really want to go there. You just want to stop it. So you have to play with it and then prevent it from getting into the hands of the irresponsible. And to pretend that violence doesn't exist, I challenge anyone who, because I think a lot of people do stick their heads in the sand like an ostrich. They want the violence not to exist. There's a schism between the world that exists and what they want to exist. They think the world that they want or should exist exists, but it doesn't. And they're actually, in a way, participating in the violence in a psychological fashion by actually arguing against you. This is what humans do. We resist each other, rub up against each other, and we fight each other. So you must acknowledge that violence exists, and you cannot defeat it. You can defeat it by running away or intellectualizing it, but if it comes to you and comes knocking at your door, what are you going to do then? That's when you pray for people more violent than you to protect you from the wolf. So that's my theory of violence, and if you've ever been exposed to it, then you've been lucky, and maybe you will one day, and maybe you'll understand. And some of the best people I've ever met in my life and the best relationships have come through martial arts. And, Merrill says that MMA is not the arts, but some of the worst people I've met in my life have been through the arts. So I'll leave you with that note.